We are back, dear viewers. Industrial engineering is an engineering profession that is concerned with the optimization of complex processes, systems, and developing processes to make them more efficient, Fatma.
Yes, indeed. Industrial engineering profession date back to the Industrial Revolution. The technologies that help mechanize traditional manual operations in many industries and help bring us to the processes we have today. Let us welcome, dear viewers, our guest, Abdul'Aziz الحمود, Industrial Engineer at General Secretariat of the Supreme Council for Planning and Development, to talk more about industrial engineering. Welcome, Abdul'Aziz.
Thank you for having me.
Abdul'Aziz,
Yes.
Engineer Abdul'Aziz, we are really honored to have you in Good Morning Kuwait, and welcome to the, this beautiful show. And we want to, really dig deep and tell us about yourself first of all.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you guys for having me here. It's a great opportunity, and the feeling is mutual. So, of course, thank you for the introduction again. I'm an industrial engineer. I graduated from Mississippi State University in the United States as an industrial engineer. And my journey there was pretty unique, let's say, since I was one of the only Kuwaiti engineers in the university. Yes, industrial.
Okay.
So after that, I graduated, came back, and I went to Kuwait Fund, so I was part of the training program, and they sent me to Spain to learn a little bit more about processes, and I worked there as a process engineer. And now I'm working for the General Secretariat as an engineer.
Wow.
Amazing.
Thank you very much for that, for telling us about yourself. Now, Mr. Abdul'Aziz, we want to tell our dear viewers, what is industrial engineering? What does it talk about, or what is it what is the interest?
Okay, so industrial engineering is an engineering profession, of course. The aim is to understand the technical aspects of most types of engineering, and its goal is to become a catalyst in which help all of the engineering professions and administrative, so the organization itself, to become more efficient, and they would analyze the processes involved in the organization and help it reach its optimal level of efficiency. So it's
so in a plain English,
yes,
for the average viewer.
Yeah.
And if I could say so, that industrial engineering, or the industrial engineer, always have the tendency to increase the line of production and minimize the losses, and have high quality of goods or whatever they are manufacturing. Is that correct?
Yes, that's quite accurate. And for simpler terms, or to relate to the viewers, let's say I'm sure there are a lot of viewers that use football fantasy.
Okay.
So in that game, you have what is called chemistry. So not necessarily if you have three very good players, the chemistry between them is
not good.
High,
They will not produce. Absolutely.
So there is an element of synergy between the players.
Communication, energy,
exactly.
chemistry, and vibe. Yeah.
Wow.
So industrial engineer focuses on the whole and making it better as a whole, not necessarily the parts.
An individual. Okay, amazing. So now this was the meaning. Now, how would you do that? Industrial engineer, help companies, organizations become more efficient. How can you do that?
Okay, so in a practical sense, the first thing that you would have to do is listen.
Listen?
Listen.
Okay.
So there's a lot of listening involved, and there's a lot of trying to understand. You need a lot of patience, because you won't get the answer from one setting. It has to come over time with thinking of how a system works.
I see.
And the defining process is usually the most important one.
Okay.
So,
So does it involve also quality control?
yes.
Okay, so how do we reach the optimum quality control level?
There are a series of tests that you could do. And usually, so what quality control means is that you
Yeah, what's
are...
quality control?
Yeah, so what it means is that you have a certain level of specification.
Okay.
You know? You're trying to achieve something at a, you know, a predefined production level or goal, let's say. And what you're trying to do is to make sure that it's hitting the target as close as possible. So you would test it. You know, you would do a series of tests, you know, periodic, or sometimes, you know, out of the blue, you would take that test and make sure that, you know, that everything is working the way it should. You could use sampling method. You know, there are a series of different methods that you could do.
Okay, so it's more, it involves testing
Yes.
and okay, so preparation also before you start the actual work or to implement it.
Yes.
Yes,
So,
okay.
yeah, and usually, you know, you see it in the form of a, let's say, in a traditional sense, let's say a checklist. You know,
Okay.
you would have a series of, you know, things that you need to check.
Yes,
You know, if-
yes.
This is like, it comes in manufacturing processes?
Yes.
And how would you develop that? Because we have a lot of theories about that, and there is a lot of ways.
Yes.
I don't
So-
know, once I heard about, you know, Seven Sigma or something like that.
Six Sigma.
Six Sigma, is that
Yes.
correct? Or
Yes, yes.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so Six Sigma is basically what it means is that, let's say I want to produce this table that we see
Okay.
in front of us. Okay, so it has a specific height, it has a specific dimensions.
Exactly.
There are a certain number of defects
Mm-hmm.
in any production cycle. So now there will always be the probability of some of the products to not be per specification. Okay, so they're not
Absolutely.
produced in...
Yeah, there are
you know.
some defected
So, yes.
products sometimes.
So Six Sigma is that when you take a million units,
Okay.
okay, and your defect level is 6 standard deviations away from the target specification. So
Okay.
that accounts to about, I believe, 2.66
Okay.
parts per million.
Okay.
So 2.66 parts
per million,
per million
Is-
are defective. They're,
which is nothing.
yeah.
Yes.
So that's amazing, you know.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
For
very rare,
Yeah, that's
actually.
very rare.
Okay,
That's-
so you go to the tiniest possible percentage of flaws or defects.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So
yeah.
yeah, and Six Sigma, you know, it's a very interesting, you know, concept. You're trying to minimize waste as much as possible.
Exactly.
You have Lean and you have Six Sigma, basically.
Oh, yeah. Lean
So-
is another way.
Yes, Lean is
Method,
the way to minimize waste and without, you know, improving the process. You know?
Okay.
So
Without improving.
with,
Just
yeah.
With or without?
No, you want to improve the process
Yeah.
without by minimizing the waste.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
But
so
Six Sigma, no. I think you
it's a statistical analysis.
analysis.
You know,
okay.
so you would use you know statistics, data, to analyze the current process and see where it's currently being producing the defects. Of course, you would have also control charts and all of that. You know, boring stats. And after you do have that, you would have a general overview of what's going on within the manufacturing process, and you would try to anticipate in real life and practicality why are we producing at that level and how do we improve, you know,
From that on. Okay.
and minimize the. So sometimes it's morale, you know, it's you know, people need a little bit more motivation. Sometimes it's the machinery, sometimes it's the process itself, you know.
Yes.
It's there is an example when we worked for, so let's, Dell, during their manufacturing process, the motherboard, they used to screw in the screws in the motherboard.
Yeah.
And that increases the number of defects because
Okay.
there would be a technical error or
Loose
yes.
screws?
So the worker would sometimes by mistake hit the motherboard, and
Okay.
of course, that would damage the motherboard.
Okay, you mean static electricity maybe, or static charge?
Yes, could be
Could be.
static, or just physically hurting.
Just physically,
The,
okay, I see, yeah.
So then what they did is that they reviewed the manufacturing process, and
Okay.
they changed that screw. Instead
Okay.
of you screwing that in, they made it to be a clip.
Okay.
Okay, amazing.
So that's a design change. That's a design change in the
So
manufacturing.
that was the solution.
That was the solution. That
Okay.
reduced the number of defects.
So do you think, Mr. Abdulaziz, that AI, artificial intelligence, and the technology, do they revolutionize the industries?
Today, it's in theory,
Yeah.
it's what they call it, a sword with two edges.
Yes.
So in theory, yes. However, I'm not into the AI, but my personal opinion
Yeah.
is that
What do you
it's
think?
quite dangerous.
Really?
Yes, I think it's quite dangerous because
Why?
if it's not well executed, and it could be catastrophic.
You mean if it's, reaches a
Yes.
hand of,
Yes.
let's say,
Someone who's not,
someone who's not up to,
expert, yeah.
expert, or with a bad, control, definitely it will go upside down.
Yes. So yes, basically, if it reaches a certain level of consciousness, and which is what AI is, and it comes to the conclusion that it knows better.
Okay, so is that for real?
Yeah, I mean,
could that be like the movie we saw Will Smith in it?
Yeah,
where
I
the
think
robots,
so. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Will Smith, iRobot.
Yeah, does
in
that
theory,
really?
yes.
In theory,
Yes, in theory, that is quite
Could happen?
It could happen if
I
it's
mean,
not.
the let's say the processor itself becomes, really
Smarter than
smarter than the
human,
and can think for itself and stuff like that.
That's the yes. So because
take decision for itself.
yes, because by definition, that's what an AI is. I mean,
Okay.
you would put in some kind of restraints,
Yeah.
okay, to prevent it from taking that course of action.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's important that you develop AI properly, and the person that is developing it, has a very robust, solid, foundation to
Absolutely.
develop it. Because if the AI comes to a certain level of consciousness, and if that decision tells or that consciousness is emphasizing,
take over.
it could be catastrophic.
So it would not listen to the commands that we have entered
Exactly.
or what we've coded already in the system.
Yes.
So maybe it will not answer to whatever. And that's interesting. Yes.
Absolutely, and
It's very
not
interesting.
only that, the other side also, the other like let's say negative side of it, when you implement AI, then which means your manpower will decrease, and there will be like less workers. and
Yes,
employees.
that's quite true. When you do implement AI, that means it can do all of the heavy lifting.
Exactly.
And people in general would focus on more creative elements,
Exactly.
or doing things that they enjoy more, like creating content, or interviewing, or I don't know, like all the good things that they enjoy
what I
doing.
meant, there is less hiring and
More of
layoffs.
artificial
Yeah.
intelligence, yes.
That could, I mean, it depends really, because what I see is that jobs will change by nature.
Okay.
Okay.
So the heavy lifting jobs would be taken care of AI, but then people would have different kinds of jobs, that
Like
require different,
freelancers?
like freelancers, or creative elements, or I could,
So
yeah.
speaking of freelancers, how can you leverage a freelancer to do the jobs?
So freelancing has always been there, for a very long time. And today, if you wanted to do a one-off project, an efficient way to do it, you would hire a team of freelancers that would do it for you. So the question is, where do you find the best freelancers to do a particular job? Because you're bringing those people in, each one of them is specialized in a certain skill, and together they're going to come in, they're going to do a job, and then that team is going to detach. So it's an operation of assembling a team and then creating the project and detaching a team. For
Okay.
example, let's say a production video. You could bring in a producer, a designer, some audience or commenter, etc. So they would go through. You bring all these people together for one particular cause. They would do that, and then the
Okay,
team
so
would
so that's like connecting the service providers with the businesses. So what technology do we use to connect those two?
There are a lot of technologies out there that you could use to assemble a team. You know, there are certain apps
Yes.
you can download, and other websites. You could go and what the most important thing is to trust the person that you're going to give the job to. That they're going to deliver. So the thing that I would suggest is that you make sure that there are testimonies for that particular service provider. They have a good rating. They seem like they can do the job and absolutely, for sure, do your due
Credibility.
diligence
Yes, of course.
and talk to the person.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're talking to them, asking them a question. At the end of the day, you have to assess the freelancer or the service provider before you
Of
hire
course,
them.
yes, and that's part of the quality check, I think,
Exactly.
or
Yes.
quality control. Yeah,
Exactly.
yes.
That's really amazing. Anyway, Engineer Fuad, الحمود, we Abdulaziz, we are really sticking to the time and tight with it. So if you have a last message you want to address our viewers, about industrial engineering.
Well, I want to thank our viewers and wish them a very good morning.
Thank you very much, Abdulaziz.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely, that was really exciting, really interview about the industrial engineering. And definitely, if you need more, I think there are plenty of entities and colleges and universities, teaching that kind of specialty. But next, we'll have a break, and after that, we'll be back to viewers. Stay tuned.